Hello, my name is Mikal. I'm presenting What If This Modified That? Syntactic Interventions via Counterfactual Embeddings. We know that large language models like BERT encode information about syntax in their representations. Hewitt and Manning, among others, have built linear probes that can predict a word's depth in a parse tree or the distance between pairs of words using the internal representation of these large models. And of course you can build nonlinear probes, but there's an open question of how expressive can a probe be before it just turns into a parser. And fundamentally this gets at the fact that we want probes to reflect the information that a model actually uses and not create its own information. So in this work we study how do language models use their representations of syntax. We do this with causal analysis via counterfactual embeddings in interventions. What is the causal link between representations of syntax measured by a probe and a model's output? In our experiments, we use syntactically ambiguous inputs. We pass those through a model. The probe, of course, predicts some structure, and the model yields its standard output. But we then use the probe to do gradient descent in the embedding space to generate a counterfactual embedding that changes the probe's output to the other valid syntactic interpretation of the sentence. We can then take that counterfactual embedding and pass it through the rest of the model and see if the model's output changes, and if so, how. What did we find? Well, we found some really cool results. So in masked language models, when we generated counterfactual embeddings based on distance-based probes, we found a consistent pattern of causal evidence for the use of that form of syntax in making a prediction. So when we used a parse to favor adverbs, the likelihood of adverbs increased. When we used a parse that favored nouns, the likelihood of nouns increased. And we did this more systematically than just for this sentence. But critically, when we used a different type of probe, or when we used a language model that had been fine-tuned on question answering, we did not find causal evidence. You'll have to come to our poster for all our findings, but I want to leave you with this. Some, but not all models use aspects of syntax that some, but not all probes reflect. But counterfactual embeddings allow us to study how it's used. I'll leave you with this final figure that came up earlier so that you remember what counterfactual embeddings allow us to study and what desirable properties look like. Thank you.